So the Avata FPV drone has now been out for approximately 1 month. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about the 10 things I love about this drone. So let's just jump straight over to the first thing, which is the size. So this Avata has a huge advantage compared to the previous FPV model from DJI. The Avata is only 410 grams compared to the 795 grams of the DJI FPV drone. So it's much easier to fly than any FPV drone on the market. It's also a lot smaller than the DJI FPV drone, which makes it much better for traveling. So to me, the size difference means that I will be taking the Avata over the DJI FPV drone when I travel overseas. Because of the smaller size, it means I can fit more equipment into my travel bag or keep things more organized. But what I really love about this drone is the camera. It has a 117-inch CMOS sensor with 48 megapixels and a super wide 155-degree field of view, and also an aperture of f2.8, and you can also shoot 4K 60 and with a video bitrate of 150 megabits per second next to the desyn-like color profile, which I'm deeply in love with. I can't say anything else than wow. I'm truly amazed with the quality coming from this drone. And one of the biggest upgrades to the camera for me is the Horizon Steady. This basically gives me the option to decide whether I want to have the FPV look to my footage or not. So a huge improvement if you ask me. Now let's talk a little bit about the flying experience, because at the end that's what matters. Now the Avata is an FPV drone, and the term FPV could actually scare some people away. It did scare me away for a very long time actually, because it sounds so difficult. But with DJI, it's just as easy as flying a normal drone. Now, I have both the Goggles 2 and the version 2 goggles, and I can say the new Goggles 2 is definitely a big improvement in quality. Things are so much easier to see, and they are also smaller, and they fit very well on my face. And with the touchpad, I find the overall experience much better and easier than using the older goggles, to be honest. It's really intuitive having that touchpad. And the Avata can also be flown with the DJI FPV controller, which originally was designed and shipped out with the DJI FPV drone, as well as the included motion controller. Now, using the motion controller, anyone can start flying and practice in normal mode to get familiar and comfortable with the behavior of the Avata. It's extremely easy, and I bet just after a few batteries, you're ready to try sports mode. Even if you just started out with FPV, it's that simple. Now, DJI also lets you pick 3 different flight modes depending on your experience. I find it really helpful, even though I've been flying FPV for a very long time. I also take off in normal mode to get some air, then I swap over to manual mode, and when I'm done flying, I switch back to normal mode, remove the goggles so I can better see the drone, and then land. So from my standpoint, using the FPV controller most of the time, the overall flight experience is much better than the original DJI FPV drone. Not as fast, but shooting cinematic content, it doesn't really have to be, does it? So why did I go for DJI when I was looking into FPV? And why the Avata over the custom Cinewhoop? For me, it was a no-brainer. The Avata has 18 minutes of flight time, and the slower I fly, the more I get. So I've actually got up to about 15 minutes of airtime, and for other FPVs, you get like 6 or 7 minutes at tops. So being able to fly twice of that means twice the content per battery. And one of the important things with the DJI batteries is that I can also charge them without thinking about balancing the batteries and to make sure that I don't like overcharge them or anything like that. Basically seen so many things that I don't want to get into. But of course, like everything else, once you get used to it, it will be an easy ride, but DJI just gives me one less thing to worry about, and I really appreciate that. And also to be able to charge from the car or from my camera bag using a power bank, it's so smooth. Now the battery charges at 65 watts regardless of charger. So if you use a 165 watt charger like I do, the batteries will still stop at 65 watts. So when I'm up flying, I'm always using the Anker PowerCore 3. I'll also leave a link to that down in the description. So when I'm done with my first battery, I swap that out and put it to charge. And from the time it takes to plug the new battery, power the Avata, get in connection, and and flying around to the end of the flight, the battery is actually almost done charging. I also use the DJI car charger when driving from place to place, so I actually have full batteries during my entire trip. They are fully charged and ready to go in an instant. So staying with the batteries here, what I really like is the small size compared to the DJI FPV drone. So 2 Avata batteries is about the same size as 1 DJI FPV battery. The DJI FPV battery also weighs 286 grams, where the Avata's battery only weighs 162 grams. So traveling with the 2 drones is going to be a huge difference on the weight. So for the DJI FPV setup, the 5 batteries and the charging hub has a total weight of 1,488 grams. And with the Avata setup, the 5 batteries and the charging hub has a total weight of 882 grams, which is the same as traveling with only 3 DJI FPV batteries. And not to mention, the DJI Avata is based on a USB-C charging system, which means you only need 1 high-speed USB-C cable. The 100-watt cable I'm using, which also has the power indicator, will be linked down in the description below. Now, safety. Let's talk about the safety around the DJI Avata, or DJI in general. One of the reasons I'm always sticking with DJI is the safety system they have. I've never had any issues when flying my drones. Well, yeah, this one time, I mean, nothing is perfect, and problems will occur from time to time. But looking at the overall impression I have of the DJI safety system, to me, it's hands down the best, especially if you're just starting out. I really feel comfortable and safe when flying a DJI drone. I just love how the system is actually taking care of you when you're flying, preventing you from crashing, giving you a heads up when it's time to come home, and notifications that tells you to move the drone if the landing spot is not suited. So all of these small things we don't really talk about, but really makes a big difference when we're flying, either as a beginner just starting out or as a professional FPV pilot. Now, the Avata comes in 3 combos: the Pro View, Fly Smart, and the single drone combo. What I like is the fact that they actually made it compatible with the Goggles V2 or the version 2 goggles. So for anyone owning the DJI FPV drone, it's enough to just get the Avata. The main thing though that I love about the Goggles V2 is the option to change and experiment with different antennas. And there's a huge selection of antennas that you can try to make the penetration better, as well as getting a stronger directional signal. For the Goggles 2, I think we will probably see some custom antennas on the market soon, but for now the version 2 goggles definitely has the best selection for custom antennas. Overall, there's not much difference to me. I would use both, but I really like the fact that it's so easy to change and mix around depending on which goggles you want to wear. It's also cheaper for those owning a pair of V2 goggles to just get the Avata and a used motion controller or a used FPV controller, and you're basically good to go. Now, I also made a binding video on how to bind the different parts of the Avata, like the version 2 goggles and the FPV controller. So in case you have some problems with that, I'll make sure to leave that video down in the description below. Now, one thing I haven't really talked that much about is the photo mode on the Avata. This is actually really good. I love the fact that I can easily take a high-res 48 megapixel photo on my location to use as a thumbnail or to post on Instagram. Now, before I was actually packing the Mavic Air 2S and the DJI FPV drone so that I could fly and have fun with the FPV drone and take photos with the Air 2S. Now, the DJI FPV drone only has 12 megapixel photos, and to me, it doesn't really look that good. But now I have everything in one single drone. I can have fun when I fly, I can capture some cinematic videos, and have the immersive FPV experience. And to round it up, I can switch over to normal mode and take some photos. The photos coming from the Avata is actually more than enough. They're actually good. I kind of like them. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the photos of the Avata. Now, the price. Let's talk about the price. It's the same thing for every new product being released. It's always too expensive and always something to complain about. But I actually disagree. I think the Avata is fairly priced. I live by the term you get what you pay for. And if we take a look at the overall picture of the pricing and what you actually get, it's not that bad if you ask me. It's actually quite reasonable. You get the perfect FPV drone in my opinion. It has all the safety features which will keep you safe, and it also has GPS location if you lose your drone. It can hover in place and has 3 different flight modes. Can be flown by anyone regardless of experience. It also has an outstanding 4K camera built in, so you don't really need to get a camera on top of it to record good videos. It also has a return to home when low on battery and the best transmission feed of any FPV drone. All of this for $1,388. Now, if you're a beginner and want the same quality and flight experience, if you're gonna go into custom FPV, you need a few more things to get started. One is that you need an FPV simulator to spend some real hours to feel comfortable when flying it for the first time, because you won't have that same beginner-friendly system as DJI offers. And the next thing is going to be that you need a ready-to-fly or a pre-built FPV drone, or all the parts, including soldering equipment, multiple batteries, and also a charger which will balance your batteries. Number 3 is that you need a lot of spare time if you want to build your own custom FPV drone. Now, all of this, or let's say a pre-built or PNP Cinewoop like the iFlight Green Hornet, with all the included accessories needed to get this thing flying, including the latest GoPro Hero 11, if we were to place an order on this right now, I would need to pay 17,500 Norwegian kroners, which is about $1,700, to fly 3 times less than I would with the Avata, and also to have a worse transmission feed in my goggles. Now, I know a lot of you FPV guys out there will disagree, but the Avata is the best Cinewoop out there if you look at the whole package you get. Just charge, power on, and fly. I assume custom FPVs are cheaper if you have everything you need to build one. But overall, the total cost, especially here in Norway, to get the same quality is not as cheap as getting the DJI Avata. Now, getting the Fly Smart Combo, you're also gonna save some money because this is the cheapest option at $1,168, which will be $500 less than the cart that I just showed you. Now, moving over to the last thing I want to talk about, which I also love about the DJI Avata, and that is the repairs. It's extremely easy and cheap to repair the Avata if it's not totally broken. Now, taking the Avata apart is an easy job and can be done using the included Allen key. It's also easy to put things back in place, and I actually find the spare parts to be reasonably priced. I think they're actually quite cheap. Let me know what you think of the pricing of the spare parts in the comment section below. So there you have the 10 things that I love about the DJI Avata. Let me know your favorite things about this drone and which controller do you like the most, the FPV controller or the motion controller. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like for the algorithm. That would be highly appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to stay subscribed. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.